It's like you just don't hear professionals walking around saying, you really could expand your knowledge or expand yourself because you think that you get this level of education in something, or you hit a level in your own personal life where you kind of think you're done.
Yeah.
Right? And that you have nothing else to learn. And there's just nothing further from the truth. Right? Like you just said it, you're never done learning.
It's Evie here. Welcome to EML Radio, where we are always talking truth. All of those things you need to hear that nobody else is willing to say.
Hello, and welcome back to EML Radio. I have the pleasure of being in St. Louis at the home of my friend, Ben Newman, friend and recently new performance coach. Ben is a performance coach, an international speaker, a best-selling author, and overall a fabulous human. So thank you so much for inviting me into your home.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And hold on, real quick, I have to say, because you highlight the things you want people to hear, but I've been knocked down enough times and had to have enough coaches and amazing people in my life to help me. And that's still the case, right? Still having coaches, still reading lots of books, and surrounded by great people like you. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a perfect lead into what I wanted to talk to you about today is the importance of mentorship. And we hear that word mentorship so often when we talk about young kids, right? But we kind of lose the importance of that concept as we age in our life. Right? But I'm a firm believer and have always practiced this, that mentors are absolutely critical. They're critical for us in every different area of our life so that we can live to our highest potential. Okay? So I want to just get a little bit of background on, for one, how you even got into the coaching business.
Yeah, so I'd absolutely love to start there. So I was a financial advisor, and in 2004, that's when I started my journey as a financial advisor for a Fortune 100 financial firm. And our managing director, Matt, came up to me and he said, you should get a coach. I said, a coach? Like, what are you talking about? I was 25 years old and hadn't had a coach since high school for sports. And what do you mean a coach? And he said, you should have a coach. And, here's why. He'll hold you accountable. He might see things that you don't see. And you can just really open up and share your emotion. I was like, okay. So 6 weeks into becoming a financial advisor, I hired a coach. His name was Dieter Powell. He was the first coach that I've ever had. And since that day, when I hired him, I have always had a paid coach. I've actually only had 4. I mean, that's how important these relationships have been to me, is that strong. I mean, you're talking about, it's, almost knocking on the door of, over 15 years of having coaches, and 2 of the 4 are still coaches of mine today. So these amazing relationships that push you and challenge you. But one of the things Matt said, he gave me the analogy, which many people have heard. He said, your high school basketball team, you were a basketball player. Did you guys just roll the ball out and go play yourselves, or did you have a coach? And I said, we had a coach. He said, why? And you go through all these things. And so once I invited a coach into my life, it was a game changer. Because we're never finished learning. I mean, I just finished my 22nd book of the year. I have 2 coaches, right? So are we done learning? No, there's so much to learn. And I like being challenged. I like being pushed.
Yeah.
And if we stop pushing ourselves and challenging ourselves, we stop growing.
Absolutely. I want to just tell you a little story. Because you mentioned when you were in the financial industry that you were like, why would I have a coach? Well, my husband and I were at this private club that we just recently joined, and it's primarily, the membership is primarily made up out of entrepreneurs. And we've met quite a few people there, and there's one gentleman, I'm in the food business and he's in the food business, hugely successful business that he's run for 30, 40 years. So anyway, we were sitting at a table next to them. My husband and I were sitting next to them at a table for dinner, and we overheard the conversation he was having with a younger gentleman. And he said, we couldn't catch it all, but he said, who you need to have, like you need to get in touch with so-and-so, because that would be a perfect mentor for you. Right? And my husband is the one who pointed it out, he's a professional, he's in the medical industry, right? And in the professional world, it's like, well, like you were saying, I'm the financial consultant. Like, why do I need a coach, right? What am I getting coached on? And my husband recognized, he said, in my profession, people would just never have that conversation. It's like, you just don't hear professionals walking around saying, you really could expand your knowledge or expand yourself because you think that you get this level of education in something, or you hit a level in your own personal life where you kind of think you're done.
Yeah.
Right? And that you have nothing else to learn. And there's just nothing further from the truth. Right? Like you just said it, you're never done learning.
And sometimes you get caught failing to do for yourself the things that you're sharing with others.
Yeah.
One of my coaches, Laura Pierce, she's awesome. She's just a bulldog. She tells you how it is. She's amazing. And I've worked with her for over 10 years. Mm-hmm. And I remember we were working on a big goal for me, which we were pushing to hit for the first time 4 years ago. And I had fallen short about 3 years in a row for hitting the big goal. And I'd fallen short 3 years in a row. And then there's this concept I use for financial advisors on how they close a year, just to lock in, to focus, to break things down into smaller, manageable, bite-sized pieces. She said, have you done that for your goal? I'm like, no. So it took my coach to say, why don't you try using what these advisors use? And we literally implemented it, and we ended up hitting it for the first time. And now, 4 years in a row, we've blown past it, and you keep increasing it. But it's those little things that sometimes we get moving so fast. And I think for all of us, we want to be great, but sometimes you have to slow down to evaluate your process and the decisions and the choices, but to have those people to help you get to that next level.
Yep. Well, and I think as coaches, right, we sometimes are so occupied with what we're doing for other people that we actually fail sometimes to do the everyday little steps that we're actually teaching others to do. Right? Like we know it's the right thing. I know, like when I first started working with you, that was it. The things that you laid out for me were just systems, right? So I know what needs to be done. I think about them, I take action, but I wasn't taking detailed action on a daily basis. And having someone just from an outside perspective be able to say, this is what I see going on, right? And this is the way that we can help make it systematic, which is what you have done for me. Like you've just gave me a system. And so many people are like, my clients say, you have a coach? Why would you have a coach? I'm like, well, because we all need a coach. We all need a mentor, someone that's ahead of us in where we want to be.
And so many people, they set a goal, but then they fail to break down that goal, right? So they set a goal and they say, I'm just going to work really hard.
That was me.
And they forget realizing that you set the goal, but then you reverse engineer it. Most people, we know the behaviors that are going to cause us to be successful, but we're not consistently driving those behaviors. And we haven't broken it down to that science or the infinite details that are going to cause us to get there. And that to me is where the science really comes in. And then you back that science with the routine action over and over and over and over again. Grit, perseverance, determination. That's when we achieve at our highest levels.
Yep. And that's what you've already just begun to help me do, right? Like I think our first conversation, you're like, you get it, right? And think about how successful I've been so far in not having a whole lot of daily reverse engineering and being systematic about it.
And which I
told
told
just
you,
work hard, right? I'm like, I'm creative. I'm going to tackle things. I'm going to go after it. But it was wearing me out.
And now with as many business entities as you have, if we do that, we go on this grind and then we don't sleep and then we're working.
That's exactly
as
it.
opposed to, and sometimes we fail to recognize the leverage that we have with team members, right? How many individuals do you have a payroll, but are you actually leveraging? Are you trying to hold on to too much stuff yourselves? Are you allowing your team to help you? Because for you, with all your capacity, I think your capacity is amazing. Your capacity in all these areas, if you're not leveraging enough, you can't give your best for what each one of those entities needs, and then one of them underperforms. When all you have to do is leverage, allow people to help you, and you focus on the pieces that are going to make you great, and then it grows.
And I believe that that's true in so many different areas of our life, right? Some people listening, they're just like, well, yeah, but I don't run a business. So why do I need a business coach? Well, you don't need a business coach, but I guarantee there's areas of all of our lives where we need guidance. We need someone to help us develop discipline, systems, hold us accountable, right? And that could be in your spiritual life, right? It could be in many, many different areas, your fitness, your nutrition, whatever it is. And for me personally, growing up, I was raised by a single mom, and my mom was my leader and my mentor in how to treat people. But when it came to like finances, when it came to even educational goals that I had or career goals, I really didn't have anybody that was kind of guiding me through that. She was just doing everything she could as a single mom to raise me, right? She had to go out to work outside the home, which she hadn't done before. And so she was maxed out in just taking care of me. So, and I didn't have parents that went to college, right? She hadn't been to college. I have 4 older sisters. Only 2 of them had been through college. So I actively sought out people that could help me in the areas where I didn't have a close-knit, strong support system. So I implemented that, and I attribute so much of where I've been able to go in my life to filling in the voids and setting aside my ego to go, you know what, no matter how good I am at something, I still could get better and I still need help.
And that's you being coachable.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
And I'm not saying I have it all figured out. I shared, I've got 2 coaches and reading all these books, right?
Yep.
I'm coachable. And so somebody who's hearing this conversation, who's maybe struggling, it's a conversation you need to have with yourself in the mirror and say, do I need help? And to know it's not a big deal to get help. Why wouldn't you?
Right.
I mean, some of the greatest coaches, so working for Alabama football with Coach Saban, Coach Saban was recognized as the number 11 leader in the world in Forbes magazine.
Wow.
Number 11, not just coach, number
Right.
11 leader in the world, right? So like, even though I'm going there
Right.
and helping them, I'm learning, right, from
Yep.
Coach Saban. Like, just because they bring me in, like, I want to learn from him. And so a lot of times there's just so much that can be gained from these relationships, and it's this amazing growth, amazing relationships,
Yep.
friendships that come from them.
Absolutely.
And that's what makes it so fulfilling in terms of this type of work.
You got it.
It starts with us. Like, do we actually want to grow? Because so many people, this is one of my things that I love saying, is that so many people tell you, I want a legacy, I want to be great. That's their words.
Right.
You have a conversation with their action, it's completely different.
Yep. We said it in an episode we did together, right? Your actions determine your standards.
That's
right?
your quote, though.
Yeah, that's me. But think about that. I would encourage people listening or watching to this to say, like, okay, step back and say, am I even coachable? Right? Am I willing to say, you know what, I don't know everything and I want to get better, and then take action on actually putting the right people around you to make you better, right? To help you get better. Right? And so many people focus on, like, it's ego. They think it's ego, like, I don't want to admit that I need help. Like, you got to set that aside, right? You got to be willing to say, I want to be coachable, I want help, and I want to be the best version of me, and it's going to take a community to help me do that.
And you look at the best coaches in the world, you look at the best leaders in the world. I mean, they go to other coaches, they go to other leaders, they have mentors. And that's part of life. I mean, even from addition to my 2 coaches, I've got an incredible mentor that has helped me in so many different areas. And I would encourage everybody, you have to find a mentor or a coach who tells you the truth. Not what you want to hear, who actually tells you the truth. And they're tough conversations, but you know, it's the tough conversations that lead to real relationships and real growth. But it's the mentors who truly believe enough in you and your potential to cut it to you straight, not feed you a bunch of BS.
Yeah. Which is exactly why, you know, I hound on the truth. And then people say, well, what is the truth? It's like, the truth is what you know inside to be true, but you're probably not willing to admit to yourself. And in order to be coachable and in order to really get help, you have to be willing to hear those harsh criticisms sometimes, right? Because that is the only way we get better.
Yeah, that's an incredible point.
Oh, go ahead.
I love that. I was just saying, I love that about your posts, is that it's always, it starts with just the word truth. And so many of us, we hide behind our excuses. We'll hide behind what we wish our truth was. Or we say, well, because of this circumstance, we allow our feelings to dictate how we show up.
Yep.
And that's no way to go about doing things. If you really want to get to the next level, be truthful about where you are and truthful about the things that you want to change to get to your next level.
Yep. And it requires vulnerability, right? It requires you just to be able to be like, oh, this may sting and it's hard. I got to share with you, like, all honesty, when I did that talk for the Hope Guild, for the Children's Hospital, I was so nervous to send you that talk. I really was. So I was like, but what did I say? One of my I am statements that we've created, like, I am the most sought after female public speaker, right? That's my goal. So I had to keep that in the back of my head when I sent that video, because we got to point out too that you were just named one of the top 50 speakers in 2020.
You keep telling
You're
them
being
stuff,
humble.
You keep telling them the stuff that they want to hear.
No, like that's something remarkable. And for me, just getting started in my public speaking, that's scary, right? How humbling for me to have to send this video to you and all the thoughts, and then waiting to hear like what you think about it and what you have to say about where I could improve. That's hard stuff, but that's where the shit happens. Right? That is where all the gold and the success comes from. So thank you for all that.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yep.
You're welcome.
Okay. So before we wrap up today,
Yep.
I always like to ask my guests
Yep.
to share one of their most profound truths. Sky's the limit.
Okay, so probably the most profound truth for me has been all around the choices that we make. And so the greatest life lesson I ever learned, it came from my mom, who passed 11 days before my 8th birthday. And she said, it's not how long you live, it's how you choose to live your life. And so, a lot of times people say, well, you were with this athlete, or you spoke to this company, or you did this, or you were with this amazing entrepreneur. But at the end of the day, we're all the same. Our success is based upon how we choose to show up every single day, what we do with our time, how we choose to think, how big we choose to think. And so it all comes down to choices. So for me, that's been that truth. Like if you want to get to the next level, like the truth always comes down to the choices. And one of the big choices is, how are you willing to think? And so a lot of times I find that people protect themselves with their thoughts. They protect themselves with their goals. I would love to tell everybody, give yourself permission to just go for it, but then evaluate the choices. Surround yourself with the right people. But that's just been such an incredible truth for me that came from my mom.
Well, thank you so much for having me in your home today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Totally honored. I always encourage people to follow and surround themselves, because having a mentor can mean just someone you're never even going to meet, but just following them on social media, right? Getting surrounded by good messages. So Tell people how they can follow you.
At Continued Fight. So at Continued Fight on Instagram and Twitter, which is where we are most active, and would love to stay connected.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Evie.